Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. Of course, the decriminalization of marijuana has been on the forefront of the headlines since the American election, and there's a lot going on here in British Columbia as well. And here to educate us on that is Dana Larson. He is the founding director of the Vancouver Medicinal Cannabis Dispensary. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Thanks for having me here today.
Good, it's our pleasure. So let's talk about the decriminalization of pot. Why do you think we should do this?
Well, it's an issue whose time has come, and we're really criminalizing too many people, especially young British Columbians. There's often a perception that marijuana is kind of already decriminalized in BC, but that's actually not the case. In Vancouver, the VPD are very unlikely to lay possession charges, but in the rest of the province, they're actually skyrocketing. We've seen the number of charges for marijuana possession more than double over the last 6 years. And I don't think most British Columbians think that's where the police should be focusing their resources or where they want their taxpayer dollars to go. So it's time for a change.
How much are the taxpayers actually paying?
Well, we actually had a criminology professor named Neil Boyd do a study for us, and he determined it's roughly $10 million a year that we're spending, and that's only to detain, arrest, and charge cannabis users, just for going after pot smokers. $10 million a year in British Columbia. That's a number that's gone up every single year for the past 6 or 7 years.
And maybe you can elaborate on what you mean by a user, as opposed to, I guess, a dealer or
or growing, or like trafficking or cultivation or those kind of things. But our legislation that we've written is called the Sensible Policing Act, and what it would do is it would instruct all the police in British Columbia to stop spending their time and resources on detaining or arresting people who are otherwise law-abiding citizens for simple possession of cannabis. That's not the final solution to the issues around marijuana, but it's a good first step. It takes marijuana users off the front lines of the war on drugs, and it allows our police to focus their attention on real crimes that people really want them to be pursuing.
Now, Dana, you've been very outspoken and passionate about this issue for a long time. Why is it so important to you, and why have you focused your work on the decriminalization of pot?
Well, I've been working on this probably for 20 years or so now, since I was a student. At the time, when I first got involved in the 90s, public opinion was against this. There wasn't a lot of public support for changing the marijuana laws, but I felt it was an important issue. I like it because it touches on a lot of other issues, whether it's human rights, whether it's where our tax money's going, whether it's medicine and health care. There's a lot of different areas. You know, and hemp, of course, is very beneficial for the environment and for agriculture. So there's a lot of different areas that marijuana policy touches on. So that's why I like the issue, because I feel that if we can change the marijuana laws, it'll have a positive impact in a lot of other areas of social policy.
So you're hoping to bring this to a provincial referendum. Is that the goal here? Yeah,
that's our goal. Well, the goal is to get this law passed, and certainly the Liberals, or perhaps if the NDP forms government, either one of them could just pass this law. But although there's a lot of support among certain MLAs, but none of our provincial leaders, political leaders here, are willing to tackle this issue and bring it forward. So I think we're going to have a referendum to get this law through. And if the referendum was held today, I'm quite confident we would win. The hard part for us is getting the signatures we need to get on the ballot. It's a very, very high threshold in British Columbia, which is why we've only ever had one ballot initiative referendum, which was to get rid of the HST.
Right.
So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're going to start the official signature gathering campaign this September. We have 90 days to collect the signatures from 10% of the registered voters in every single one of BC's 85 electoral districts. So it's a lot of people. About 400,000 people have to sign up in this 90-day period.
Do you think you'll be able to do it?
Well, I hope so. I wouldn't be in this if I didn't think we could succeed. And we're having a long lead-up period. So I've been campaigning since last September. We've registered many thousands of people so far. I've been on tour. I've traveled to over 50 cities and towns around the province. I did that during the winter, and now we're launching these public panels. We've had a few already, and Mayor Derek Corrigan from Burnaby is going to be on one of our panels. I think he's talking here later on.
And you've got some really interesting guests coming up speaking on these panels. Maybe you can tell us about some of the folks who are going to be speaking.
Well, it's been great. We had Cash Heed, who's a former Attorney General, speaking last night, and one of the fellows on the panel with Derek Corrigan is a guy named Mason Trevert, and he's basically the guy that was the main force behind legalization in Colorado. And so I'm quite excited to see what he has to say and give us some guidance here in British Columbia, and to learn from their strategies and how they succeeded there, because it was a very difficult campaign for them.
Do you think what happened in Colorado and in Washington will make a difference to how people's eyes are opened to the pot
positive aspects of your whole campaign?
Absolutely. It's a huge benefit for us. And often the argument is made that, well, you're right about changing the laws, but the Americans won't let us, and the Americans going to freak out somehow, and the border will be shut down, or something bad will happen. And now that our neighboring state to the south and also Colorado have both legalized, that argument has evaporated. So there's no more fear in Canada, or there shouldn't be any more fear in Canada about the American reaction to us changing the laws here.
Don't you think when I think of decriminalizing marijuana, I think, is marijuana not, quote unquote, a gateway drug to potentially have other drugs, kind of more illegal drugs, perhaps be more, I don't know, enticing maybe to other people?
That's a common belief, but that's actually not based in fact at all. I mean, the vast majority of Canadians at this point have tried marijuana. Only a very tiny percentage of people.
But I didn't inhale.
Or they use other, use other substances, and if there is a connection, it's because they're all illegal. So the same person who's selling you cannabis might say, well, I couldn't get any marijuana today, but I've got something else you might want to try instead. But in a legally regulated system, we would keep these things separate. Marijuana would be sold separately from other things, and we'd also have regulations and age limits and those kind of rules involved to make sure there's as much safety.
And it does seem like the recognition that medicinally marijuana does have some, positive effects for people, whether it be chemotherapy or glaucoma. It seems like we have made positive steps forward to recognizing that pot isn't a bad thing.
Well, absolutely. And, so I run a medical marijuana dispensary. We serve thousands of patients in the Lower Mainland and across Canada by mail order, and we hear amazing stories all the time, and the benefits of cannabis medicines are quite incredible. And people often think of it as being smoking a joint, and smoking a joint can be good medicine, but we have a lot of other products, foods, capsules. We have topical ointments and creams that are really effective against psoriasis, eczema, post-surgical pain, muscle problems, and people don't think of marijuana as something you rub on your skin, but it's actually quite an effective treatment, and there's zero psychoactivity with products like that. So it's really something that could be sold out of a pharmacy as far as I'm concerned when it comes to those kind of things.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about the website, the petition, how people can get involved. Is this something that they're passionate about too?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Well, SensibleBC.ca is the place to go, and people can register and sign up there. We need volunteers. We need people willing to get involved to help make history, to change this law in British Columbia. It will spread across the rest of Canada. Getting involved in our campaign means that you can tell your kids and grandkids, I helped to change those laws. I helped to legalize marijuana, so you would never have to know what it's like to be charged for what herbal medicine you use or what plants you grow in your garden. We have a very special chance right now in British Columbia to change these laws, and I hope that people will get involved. If you're watching this, get involved and make a difference in this campaign, because this is our chance to do it. If we miss this chance now, I don't know when the next opportunity will come.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. As Dana just said, you can go to the website to find out more about the petition and also about the great panels that are coming up. Some very interesting folks will be speaking.